All right, welcome to the deep dive, everybody. Today we're going to be diving deep into large language models, or LLMs,
Okay.
and how they're changing knowledge work as we know it.
Absolutely.
And we've got some really cool research out of IBM Research, two surveys that they did.
Yeah.
One in summer 2023 with 216 knowledge workers, and then another one in fall 2024
Mm,
with 107 knowledge workers, all at a big international tech company.
yeah,
So this is really interesting information coming out of this because it gives a unique perspective
for sure.
on how these AI tools were really being used in the real world and their potential to, help us be more productive and everything like that.
It's a really grounded perspective
Yeah.
on how knowledge workers like yourself are actually engaging with these tools.
Right.
Yeah, no hype, no jargon.
Exactly. And that's our mission for today's deep dive is we want to extract the key insights from these surveys and make them relevant to you and,
Absolutely.
give you some ideas of how you might be able to use these LLMs to make your work better. Yeah.
More efficient, and even just spark new ideas.
Yeah. It's an exciting time.
Okay, so the first big question is, how are knowledge workers actually using LLMs right now?
So the surveys looked at overall adoption, and the numbers are quite telling. In the summer 2023 survey, around 24.5% of workers said they were using LLMs for work.
Wow.
And by fall 2024, that number jumped to 34.6%.
Yeah.
That's a pretty significant increase in just over a year,
Yeah?
really suggesting that these tools are becoming increasingly integrated into core work processes.
Yeah, that's a rapid climb.
Yeah.
What about using them for personal stuff? Or just trying them out to see what they can do?
Yeah, so for personal tasks, we see a more stable pattern. In the first survey, 27.8% use LLMs for personal reasons, and that nudged up slightly to 29.9% in the second.
Okay.
And then in terms of just experimenting, out of curiosity,
Yeah.
that remained pretty consistent, around 26.9% and 27.1% respectively.
Got it.
Now it's worth noting that these aren't necessarily mutually exclusive groups, right?
Right. Someone might be using LLMs for both work and personal things, and often,
Yeah.
the act of trying them out can lead to discovering practical applications in both areas.
Of course.
So there's a lot of overlap.
Okay, so people are definitely getting their hands on these models.
Yeah.
Now, the research broke down
Yes.
how they're using them for work into four key categories. What are those?
Right. So the researchers identified four main ways knowledge workers are leveraging LLMs for their jobs. Think of it as creation, information, advice, and automation.
Okay.
Creation is producing something new.
Okay.
Information is about accessing and understanding existing data. Advice is seeking guidance or improvement.
Yeah.
And automation is having the LLM do things for you.
Okay, got it. So let's start with creation.
Okay.
What kind of things are they creating with LLMs?
Creation was a big one. The most frequent use in the first survey was artifact generation.
Okay.
This is where the LLM is actually creating something,
Right.
tangible. So they do texts with dummy data, SQL commands, even Excel scripts.
Wow.
Also being used to create initial drafts of text, like responses for chatbots,
Yeah.
or even job descriptions.
That's cool.
So really getting a head start on those foundational elements.
Sounds like a way to tackle that initial hurdle of a blank page.
Exactly. It's often seen as a starting point, a way
Yeah.
to get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
But the research also highlighted a challenge with creative text in particular.
Okay.
Some users felt LLMs made the text sound too neat and tidy, almost lacking a certain human touch
Right.
or a voice that resonates.
That makes sense. An AI trying to be creative might sound a bit,
Yeah, it's too polished.
too polished. Okay. What else falls under that creation umbrella?
The other key area within creation was idea generation.
Okay.
This is where workers used LLMs for brainstorming.
Okay.
Examples from the survey included getting ideas for the design or research skills a team might need, exploring user persona concepts, or even just generating titles and keywords for a project.
Okay, so less about like the final output, more about the initial thinking.
It's about sparking inspiration more than delivering a finished product.
So how does that compare to how they used LLMs for creation in their personal lives?
That's an interesting contrast.
Yeah.
For personal use, it was also focused on ideas and creative text, but naturally more geared toward everyday life.
Right.
So think travel itineraries, cooking recipes,
Yeah.
workout schedules, even costume ideas for kids.
That's cool.
The key difference seems to be the specificity of knowledge required.
Mm-hmm.
Work tasks often need very specific domain expertise, whereas personal tasks tend to draw on more general knowledge.
Yeah, asking for complicated integration code is different than asking for a good pasta recipe.
Exactly.
Okay, let's move on to the second category, information.
Okay.
How are LLMs being used to find or understand data?
Yeah, information tasks were very common as well. In the first survey, the most frequent information task was just search people.
Hmm.
People using LLMs to get answers on work topics, like security protocols,
Okay.
as an alternative to traditional search engines.
Right, so going straight to the AI as a first point of inquiry.
Yeah,
Okay, were there other ways they were using LLMs to get information?
absolutely.
Yep.
Learning was another significant one.
Okay.
People were using LLMs to get up to speed on new topics.
Mm-hmm.
One example being learning about Kubernetes.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Right.
Yeah.
And the benefit here is the potential for a personalized level of explanation.
Right.
So the LLM can tailor its response to your current knowledge.
Okay.
But the survey also points out a potential pitfall here: inaccuracies.
Of course, yeah.
One user mentioned getting incorrect REST API examples,
Yeah.
while trying to learn.
Yeah.
This highlights a critical challenge. While LLMs can accelerate learning, their output really needs to be carefully verified, especially in technical domains where accuracy is paramount.
Yeah, you can't just trust it.
Absolutely not, right?
Yeah.
So it underscores the need for critical evaluation even when we're using AI.
For sure. So the information is not always guaranteed to be correct.
Not yet, no.
Okay. What about when they were dealing with a lot of text?
That falls under summarize.
Okay.
This was used for condensing long public content, those long website pages that we all come across.
Yes, I hate those.
Right.
Yeah.
And this use actually increased significantly in the second survey.
Oh, interesting.
And that might be linked to the increasing context windows of LLMs.
Okay.
This refers to how much text the LLM can remember and process at once.
Okay.
So as those windows have grown, LLMs have become better at handling longer documents.
That makes sense.
However, they also mentioned that token limits, which is another way to measure how much text it can handle,
Okay.
can still be a challenge for large documents.
Okay, so making progress, but still some boundary.
Yeah.
Were there any other information-related uses?
Analyze was mentioned, although it wasn't super common in the current use.
Okay.
But the survey suggested something that people want to do more of in the future.
Okay.
And finally, they observed an interesting behavior that they call evaluation by trying.
Hmm.
Users would actually test the LLMs by asking questions they already knew the answer to,
Oh, interesting.
essentially to see how good it was,
Right, right.
how reliable it
To
was.
gauge its knowledge base, yeah.
Exactly, like a pop quiz.
Yeah.
I think we've all done that,
I do it all the time.
Yeah, when you first start using a new piece of tech.
Okay, so that covers information. The third category is advice.
Yes.
What kind of guidance are people looking for from these LLMs?
There were three main types: improve, guidance, and validation.
Okay.
Right now, improve was the most common.
Okay.
This involved giving the LLM a piece of work to make it better.
Okay.
So examples included refining writing for conciseness, making it more coherent, or even changing word choice. But similar to the challenge with creation, users sometimes got frustrated when the AI changed the meaning while trying to improve it.
Yeah, of course.
It was also used for debugging code.
So like a digital editor.
Exactly, a digital editor,
Okay.
or a coding assistant giving feedback.
Yeah. What about guidance and validation?
These were less frequent in current use, but they seem to be areas of growth.
Okay.
So guidance is getting recommendations on how to approach a task, and validation is checking if something meets certain criteria or rules,
Got it.
like validating code, for instance.
Now, the survey also talked about personal use of LLMs for advice, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, this was a notable finding. Some participants said they were using LLMs for things like diagnosing a respiratory infection,
Oh, wow.
seeking parenting advice,
Interesting.
and even getting input on buying a house.
Really?
Yeah. So there's a blurring between work and personal life when it comes to seeking advice from AI.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
It really raises questions about the role of these tools in our decision-making as knowledge workers and as people.
Totally. Okay, the final current usage category is automation. What did the surveys say about that?
This is interesting. The first survey, back in 2023, didn't actually report any work automation using LLMs.
Oh, wow.
But the 2024 survey did show some adoption in that area,
Okay.
indicating a shift. Unfortunately, the way this survey was designed at that point didn't get into specific examples.
Okay, so automation seems to be more recent development.
Yeah, looks like it.
That brings us to the second main research question. How do knowledge workers want to use LLMs in the future? What are they hoping for?
The future desires expressed in the surveys are fascinating.
Yeah.
They point to more complex, more integrated, and more specialized uses of LLMs.
Okay.
Automation, validation, analysis, these were all highly desired in that second survey,
Got it.
suggesting that people are moving beyond that initial experimentation.
Makes sense. So let's break that down by our four categories again.
Okay.
Starting with creation. How do they envision more advanced creation?
The vision for creation in the future is much grander than just generating small pieces of content.
Right.
People talked about wanting LLMs to create entire documentation sets,
Wow.
tests for code, and even build spreadsheets from scratch.
Okay.
Something like that would require much tighter integration with software
Right.
and access to a wider range of data.
That's a huge leap from just drafting an email.
Huge. Yeah.
What about creation that's specific to their job roles?
Absolutely. There's a desire for LLMs to create the core outputs of specific roles,
Okay.
like research papers, epics, and user stories, presentations, reports,
Yeah.
even performance reviews.
Interesting.
But the general feeling was that these outputs would serve as a first draft
Right.
or handle the more straightforward parts,
Okay.
implying that human oversight and refinement are still essential.
Okay, so still envisioning a partnership between the human and the AI. Yeah. Okay, when it comes to information in the future, it sounded like being able to use their own data was a big priority.
It was a major theme.
Yeah.
People want to search within their own internal data.
Okay.
Company knowledge bases, source code repositories,
Yeah.
internal policies.
That makes sense.
They wanted a bot that was trained on their team's content to answer FAQs on platforms like Slack,
Okay.
or being able to quickly find info within the company when human experts aren't available.
Right.
This could be a huge time saver.
Yeah, and improve access to critical information.
Absolutely.
That sounds like it could really cut down on wasted time searching for things.
For sure.
Were there other information capabilities they were hoping for?
Yes. They envisioned smarter search capabilities.
Okay.
The LLM being able to understand the context of a search.
Right.
And suggest related terms.
Yeah.
Or tailor searches within forums more precisely.
Gotcha.
They also had specific summarization needs,
Okay.
like getting concise minutes from a meeting,
Yeah, that'd be great.
or quickly understanding a complex document like an architectural proposal.
Yeah, I could use that.
And then finally, there was a desire for more specialized and personalized analysis,
Okay.
like a customized dashboard that shows relevant status updates across multiple projects.
That sounds like moving towards having really smart, personalized information assistants.
It does, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. It's exciting.
What about advice in the future? How do they see LLMs helping them?
People want more data-driven, context-aware advice.
Okay.
One example was code validation based on the description of code changes.
Okay.
Another was getting suggestions in visual design tools as you're using them,
Oh, wow.
right?
Yeah.
There's also interest in getting feedback on specialized work like user research tasks,
Okay, so more integrated advice.
Right.
In their workflow.
right within the flow.
Yeah. Anything else in the advice category for the future?
They also wanted more complex advice,
Okay.
like advice that integrates different types of data, analyzing system logs to diagnose problems.
Yeah. Or getting multiple solutions to a technical issue.
Okay.
So moving towards deeper, more analytical guidance.
Yeah. Finally, let's talk about automation in the future.
Yes.
This was a huge area of interest.
It was. In the second survey, almost 70% of people selected automation as a desired use.
Wow.
This often involves LLMs directly performing tasks, which requires connecting to other systems through APIs.
Right.
Examples included managing calendars, like scheduling meetings, responding to requests,
Okay.
and automating tasks within specific domains, like providing status updates or assisting with hardware design.
Okay, so some real practical applications. That
Yeah.
can free up so much time.
Absolutely.
Were there any specific automation tasks that stood out from the second survey?
Yeah, a few concrete examples.
Okay.
Automatically tracking purchase orders,
Okay.
generating reports on a schedule,
Yeah.
handling routine tasks like expense reports,
Oh, man.
time reports, booking vacation, managing contacts. So
Nice.
the vision is for LLMs to be more proactive and handle the day-to-day.
Yeah, it really does paint a picture of a future where LLMs are just so much more integrated into how we work.
Much more.
Yeah. Now, the researchers also looked at how LLM usage fits into larger and collaborative workflows.
Right.
What did they find there?
Well, this is crucial because we know knowledge work is rarely a solo thing.
Yeah.
In the first survey, over half the work tasks where LLMs were used. 60%
Okay.
were part of larger workflows, and
Yeah.
69% of those involved collaboration.
Wow.
Personal use was less integrated.
Okay.
Interestingly, the second survey showed a decrease in workflow integration for work tasks, down to 42%.
Interesting.
It's possible this is due to the smaller sample size in the second survey,
Yeah.
or maybe it reflects a growing confidence in using LLMs individually.
Yeah, that's an interesting shift.
Yeah.
What about that collaboration aspect? Who are these knowledge workers working with when they use LLMs?
It was a wide range of people.
Okay.
Designers, project managers, developers, so their work is really interconnected.
Yeah. And how were these tasks typically handled before LLMs entered the picture?
Mostly completed manually,
Okay.
for both work and personal.
Interesting.
Sometimes they'd use other tools or ask colleagues for help,
Yeah.
but manual was most common.
So LLMs have the potential to really change how we do things.
For sure.
Now, the second survey also mentioned some challenges in using LLMs collaboratively.
Yay.
What were some of the pain points there?
A few interesting things came up. One was the lack of consistent results.
Oh, right.
The same prompt could give different outcomes.
Okay.
Then there were concerns about trusting work done by colleagues using AI.
That makes sense.
And finally, integrating LLMs with existing tools was a hurdle.
Right.
But it's important to note that some people had no challenges at all.
Interesting.
Still wasn't universal.
Okay, so while there's a lot of excitement, there are some practical concerns for teams.
Yeah.
The research also talked about future visions of how different LLM supports could work together. Could you give some examples of that?
They highlighted 3 key areas: communications, information management, and role-based support.
Okay.
In communications, the idea was to use LLMs to draft emails,
Okay.
summarize meetings,
Yeah.
assist with scheduling.
Got it.
But there was a recognition that you might still need to edit those AI-generated communications.
Right.
It wasn't fully automated
Fits.
for information management.
Yeah.
The vision was LLMs playing a key role in finding information,
Okay.
creating dashboards,
Mm.
making it easier to handle all that data.
I like that.
This would involve search, summarization, analysis, automation, the whole package.
Wow.
One cool idea was using LLMs to tap into a colleague's knowledge even when they're not around.
Oh, that's cool.
Right.
Yeah,
That could help avoid bottlenecks.
definitely. And the last example was role-based support.
Yeah, this is having LLMs trained to help with specific roles,
Okay.
both technical and non-technical. For technical roles, examples included code refactoring, bug report analysis, and code reviews.
Okay.
Non-technical, it could be analyzing user research,
Right.
or even helping create presentations.
That's really interesting.
The point here is that even with these specialized AI assistants, human oversight is still needed.
Yeah, I think that's an important takeaway for sure.
For sure.
Okay, so let's bring it all together. What are the main takeaways from this whole deep dive?
Well, the surveys clearly show that LLMs are here to stay. Knowledge workers are using them in tons of ways, initially for content creation and information gathering.
Right.
Looking ahead, people want LLMs to be more integrated in their workflows, leveraging company data
Yeah.
and automating tasks.
Makes sense.
But we have to address those challenges around reliability,
Oh, right.
consistency, and integration.
Definitely some food for thought there.
Yeah.
Now, for you, the listener,
Yes.
think about how all of this relates to your own work. Are you using LLMs already? What tasks do you see them helping you with?
This raises the question, how will our roles as knowledge workers evolve?
That's a big one.
Right. As LLMs become more integrated,
Yeah.
will we become orchestrators of AI assistants?
Right.
Focusing on strategy and oversight.
It's an interesting question.
This is just the beginning.
Yeah, the tip of the iceberg.
Exactly.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive.
Okay.
This has been a really interesting look at LLMs and knowledge work.
A lot to think about.
What questions does it raise for you about the future of your work?
Yeah, think about that.
Join us next time on the deep dive as we dive deep into something new.
See you then.
All right, see